You ever walk into a room and just feel the vibe is off? Or maybe it's electric. Well, a lot of that comes down to something we barely even think about: how the furniture is arranged. Seriously, the physical setup of a space can totally change how we talk, how we engage, and even how we feel. So let's get into it and figure out how we can actually use our environment to our advantage. I mean, who hasn't felt this way, right? It's that feeling when you're just stuck. You're doing the same old thing in the same old space, and man, does it get stale. You just want to shake things up, Make the everyday feel new again. But how? Well, the root of this problem is something we could call the tyranny of the grid. Think about it. When everyone's always stuck in the exact same seats, doing similar stuff day in and day out, boredom is pretty much guaranteed. The source material is super clear on this. It leads to a total lack of commitment. One activity just bleeds into the next, and before you know it, engagement has dropped right off a cliff. Okay, so here's the big aha moment. What if we stopped thinking of a room as just a box, a passive container for stuff to happen in? What if, instead, we started seeing it as a tool, a really powerful tool that we can use to deliberately shape conversations, spark some creativity, and hit whatever goal we're aiming for? Now, that shift in perspective, it changes everything. All right, first up in our new toolkit: how do we arrange a room to spark a good, healthy debate? Because sometimes you don't want everyone holding hands and agreeing. You want to clash ideas, you want to bring those opposing viewpoints right to the front and center. And for that, we can take a page straight from a place that's famous for arguments: the Houses of Parliament layout. Just look at this diagram. Its purpose is crystal clear, right? It physically carves out two distinct opposing sides, basically getting them ready to face off. And what's so cool about this is just how intentional it is. I mean, you would only use this setup when you specifically want to stir up some disagreement. By setting up two rows of chairs looking right at each other, you're literally creating an us versus them vibe. It's absolutely perfect for a formal debate where you have two very clear sides. But yeah, you would definitely not use this for, say, a friendly brainstorm. Okay, but what if you want the total opposite? What if your goal isn't conflict, but collaboration? You want to get people talking in small groups, interacting, and actually working together. Well, let's see how a different layout can build a totally different kind of energy. So for this, we've got layouts like railway carriages or the airplane setup. And you can see right away how they both work, right? They're designed to break a big group down into these smaller, cozier little conversation pods. It just feels less intimidating, and it really encourages everybody to actually chip in. And the key here really is the number of people. Whether you're setting up seats to face each other like you're on a train or in little rows like on a plane, the whole goal is to create these little self-contained groups of 4 or 5. That seems to be the sweet spot for a really focused, productive small group chat. Now here's a really creative one for group discussion: the swimming pool. You arrange all the seats in a big rectangle, but here's the trick: everyone's facing an imaginary spot in the middle. It's kind of cool, right? It creates this sense of a shared space, but without the formality of a big table. It's awesome for more relaxed conversational stuff. And then, of course, for those more official moments, a big team meeting, a presentation, or when you need all the small groups to report back, you've got the classic boardroom setup. This one is all about getting everyone unified and focused on one single thing. The best thing about the boardroom layout is just how simple and powerful it is. You literally just pull all the desks or tables together to make one giant surface, and the effect is instant. Suddenly there's one focal point, everyone's kind of on an equal playing field, and it just pushes the whole group to have one big, unified conversation. All right, let's ramp up the creativity. What if you're not just having a discussion? What if you're running a full-on simulation, a role-playing exercise? For that, you don't just need a layout, you need to build an entire world. So let's look at how you can set up a room for total immersion. This right here is called the outline plan. And yeah, I know, it might just look like a bunch of empty boxes, but you gotta think of it like a blueprint. You're using tables and chairs not as places to sit, but as walls. You're literally building an environment: an office, a hospital, a house, whatever you need. And setting it up is basically a 3-step deal. First, you arrange the tables to map out your rooms, your hallways, your doorways. Step 2, and this is super important, you clearly label what each space is. This is the front desk. That's the waiting room. And finally, step 3, you just let everybody jump into their roles and start interacting in the world you just created for them. But hang on, what about the planning that happens before the simulation even starts? Well, for that, the separate corners layout is perfect. You literally just divide your different groups into their own corners or areas of the room so they can prep their ideas and strategies in private. And the psychology behind this is so interesting. By giving each group its own little territory, you're not just giving them a place to work, you're actually building team spirit and a sense of identity. The source material points out that this physical separation can even fire up a little friendly, healthy competition with the other teams. It's pretty cool. So we've looked at all these different layouts, right? From layouts that spark arguments to ones that build entire worlds. What's the big takeaway here? Well, it's all about completely changing how we look at the rooms we use every single day.
So here are the big things to remember. Number one, your room is an active tool, not just a passive box, so use it. Two, always match the layout to what you're trying to achieve with your activity. Three, be intentional. Think about the environment you're creating. And last but not least, seriously, don't be afraid to experiment. Just move the furniture around and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen?
And that really brings us to the final thought here. The next time you walk into your classroom or your office or a meeting room, don't just see chairs and tables. See the potential. See the powerful tool that you have right there at your fingertips. So the real question I'll leave you with is this: how are you going to rearrange your world?